It's the Tuesday edition of Weather for Weather Geeks here on September the 29th, a soggy Tuesday across the valley. I mentioned on 21 News at 6 this evening that, we haven't had many rainy days this month, but most of them have come on weekend days, especially Saturdays. So this has been the first wet Tuesday that we've had in all of September. Here's a sampling of some backyard rain totals. You gotta, take some of these with a grain of salt. These are rain gauges that may or may not be well maintained, that sort of thing. For example, Austin Town, I think that number's a little too low. This number's probably just a little too high, but you get the idea taking a look at a map like this that we've had a third of an inch to a half an inch, even a little bit more in some spots. Overall, the axis of heaviest rain has been like this, going from southeastern Columbiana up through Lawrence and then heading over towards the DuBois, PA area, where they've had a few inches worth of rain during the course of last night and into today. So these rain totals, of course, continue to add up this evening. Not going to spend a lot of time on the current radar because most of you are watching well after, but the radar will actually look about the same throughout the evening. What you see is what you get. Pretty much just light, consistent rain for the rest of the evening. This is really good stuff. We need this rain. It's not too much to handle. There's no real threat for flooding. It's a little different off to the east where the rain can be heavier. Still a flood risk primarily from Pittsburgh on east into the north central mountains of Pennsylvania tonight. They could see another inch or two worth of rain over there. But for us, this is, again, mostly a light rain. Back edge is still well off to the south and west, so it's going to rain most of the night. I'll show you the models in just a second. Otherwise, let's bring up the temperatures, show you where our cold front is this evening. Pretty easy to pick it out. When you look at the temperatures, it's pretty much right through here. And when I show you the dew points, that's really when you can notice where that front is. Boy, the air dries out in a hurry behind this front. We're going to feel that change tomorrow as this drier air plows in. The bad hair days are over. It's going to be a lot less humid starting tomorrow afternoon. All right, so let's talk about the real near term here. I'll bring up the latest version of the high-res rapid refresh model. That's our short-term model, high-resolution model. It's like a camera with a lot of megapixels. Showing you the simulated radar here. A few hours from now, around midnight, yeah, still raining. No meteorology degree to figure that one out. Needed to figure that one out. As we go into the wee hours of tomorrow morning, still some light rain around. And most importantly, when most of you are getting up and moving tomorrow morning, the bus stop and heading off to work, notice that the rain, the steadiest of the rain, is trying to push away. I think there can still be some mist and drizzle and general murkiness at the start of Wednesday, so I'd keep the umbrella on standby. Certainly you might need it for a couple of hours in the morning on Wednesday. Switch over to the NAM model here, and by midday tomorrow, I think the clouds are going to hang around. I can't even rule out a little mist or drizzle, but any rain that falls by lunchtime is going to be really, really light, just kind of a nuisance more than anything. Mostly tomorrow is just a pretty cloudy, cool day with lower humidity. All right, now I want to talk about the very interesting scenario that is getting set to unfold over the next few days. I'm going to bring up, first of all, what's going on upstairs in the atmosphere here on the GFS model. And I'm going to skip ahead a couple of days to Friday afternoon. Here's the setup up at 18,000 feet. All right, you got a lot of things going on here. You have a low that's closing off, an upper level low strengthening over the southeastern U.S. You have down here, this is Joaquin, which will probably become a hurricane in the near term and can impact the northern Bahamas. So there's Joaquin, there's our upper low. Then you have an upper high over here. And then if I pan up, there's another upper high up here. That's this circular area. There's a whole lot of players on the field here. And the big question for how the sensible weather will be is how do these things interact? How do things play out? By Friday afternoon, I think as this low continues to form down here, it's going to start throwing moisture back into the old front. The front that comes through here tomorrow is going to stall on the eastern seaboard, and this low is going to start pumping in some tropical moisture up and over that front. So I think it starts to rain pretty heavily Friday along the east coast and back into the central Appalachians as well. Here's the GFS for Friday late in the day right here. You can see the rain really increasing from Raleigh up through much of Virginia, D.C., Baltimore, Philly, New York. Notice back here by Friday evening for high school football, we might get away okay here. Other models have a little bit of a different idea. Throw up the NAM here, see what it says. It also is dry, but the European does try to bring in some rain Friday evening. So, I think if it rains, it's not much Friday. Most of our high school football action should be all right. Now, Saturday becomes a bit of a different story. Let me zoom ahead to Saturday here. Again, I'm going to leave the upper level flow up here because that's a more interesting way to look at this, I think. So here's a look at Saturday. Now you have our upper low still spinning over the southeast. Here's Joaquin, and you have all this moisture getting pinwheeled into the eastern U.S. like this. And with tropical moisture from Joaquin perhaps getting involved, that can enhance the rainfall. So while we're not going to get in on the worst of the wet weather here, I do think that Saturday is likely to be a windy, rainy day. Let me bring up the surface chart instead of the 18,000 foot chart here, show you the isobars, because they'll be pretty tightly packed together here. You know, this is just one model, and the models are certainly not in great agreement. But the GFS idea here, notice how tightly packed together the isobars are here Saturday. If this is exactly right, this is a windy, rainy, raw, chilly day Saturday. Mid-50s at best, and it'll feel like the 40s when you factor in the wind and the rain. So plan on Saturday being kind of a crummy day. As we go into Sunday then, again, just the GFS here. Now look what it does. I mean, this is just insane. It pretty much merges the upper low with Joaquin and has this monster low now over or just south of DC Sunday afternoon. You know, this is wild stuff, and not sure if this is, you know, worth buying at this point, but it's a solution that isn't outside of the realm of possibility. And if this were to be exactly right, what would the sensible weather be for us? It would be another wind-driven heavy rain event for us on Sunday. Now, the worst of the rain would be from central PA down through West Virginia and down into the southern Appalachians. But, you know, even back here, you know, this would be a heavy rain event for us on Sunday. So that's the current run of the GFS. Let me back up one run. Here's this morning's run. Notice how different it is. It has a much weaker low and just kind of a different look to things. So that was this morning's run. Here's this afternoon's run. The models are having a hard time, and this is just the GFS. I haven't shown you the Canadian, the Euro, any of that. I could go on for 20 minutes. So the bottom line for you, as far as the sensible weather is concerned, Friday at this point I don't think is tremendously rainy at all, maybe a shower or two. I think our wet day is Saturday, and Sunday could be as well. We've got a lot of fine-tuning to do. Real quickly, here's the official NHC, National Hurricane Center, track for Joaquin. Has it stewing around down in the northern Bahamas, and then taking a turn north as we go into the weekend. Now, while Joaquin might not do a sharp left hook a la Sandy a few years ago, it may not do something like that. It may get close enough to the U.S. that it can really impact the situation, especially over towards the Appalachians and over towards the East Coast. Rainfall amounts could be, you know, pretty darn impressive here. This is just the GFS, the model I just showed you, through Monday, showing rainfall totals of a foot to 20 inches. Parts of North Carolina up into the mountains of West Virginia and the Blue Ridge Parkway in Western Virginia. You know, tremendous biblical rains possible down there. For us, it has a few inches worth of rain, a couple inches. So I'm not real concerned about this being any sort of huge big ticket rain event for us. Just ugly weather is what I'm concerned about. Just miserable is on the table for a lot of the weekend, particularly on Saturday. Once we get past the weekend, the weather will start to calm down next week, but it is a cool pattern we're in through next week. Here's the 5 to 10 day outlook showing a coolish pattern, nothing real unusual. You know, we're not in these deep blue or purple colors here, but, you know, this means I think we'll have a lot of days next week with highs in the 60s, maybe a few days cooler than that. And keep in mind, you know, we're getting into the, you know, first and second week of October. Our average highs are dropping. They're down into the mid 60s now. So, you know, with a high of 65, that's a typical day now, whereas a few weeks ago that would have been unusually chilly. So, all right, over 9 minutes, that's tonight's weather for Weather Geeks. I'll wrap things up and shut up. As we go through the evening, you can always follow me, of course, on social media if you don't already. I'll be posting radars and keeping you up to date on the short term. If I see something interesting about the weekend forecast, I'll be sure and chime in on that, and I'll be all over the interwebs again tomorrow with more insight into our forecast over the next several days. So I'll see you then, and I'll see you tonight if you're watching TV on 21 News at 11.